Hello friends, welcome back to the video. Now in this video I will be covering another topic, that is placenta and membranes. Although this is more of a theoretical topic, and but you need to know what are the basics that govern how the placenta is made and what are the principles of functioning of placenta. Now number 1, human placenta, it is called discoid. Discoid because of its shape, it is a disc like structure. It is also called hemochorial because the chorionic plate, that the trophoblastic tissue, it comes in contact with the maternal blood, and it is also called deciduate. When it is shed after delivery, some part of maternal tissue of decidua is shed along with the placenta of decidua basalis is shed along. So these are the three terms. Human placenta is discoid, it is hemochorial, and it is deciduate. Now coming how it is formed. By around 11th day of implantation, 11th day, what happens? There is trophoblastic tissue. It starts growing. This is the the trophoblastic tissue. It starts giving the projections towards the decidua, and in between these projections there is a lacunar space present. Initially these projections, they start everywhere around the implantation, at the time of implantation, but at the place of future formation of placenta, it is more aggravated, and as it is growing, the other part, when the fetus starts growing, other part is compressed, and the part chorion frondosum, at the part of the chorion frondosum, this is seen. These projections, they are towards the decidual membrane, and in between it has got spaces. Later on what happens? Later on, by around 21st day, in these projections, suppose this is a projection from these are the projections. First it is a primary villi. These projections are primary villi. Then the tissue invades in it, and later capillaries, blood vessels and capillaries perforate. So primary, secondary and tertiary villi. Outside this space, this intervillar space, it is here, it is perforated from the spiral arteries coming from the uterus side, and this outer space is filled with blood of maternal origin. The spiral arteries, they are perforating it, and these are formed the tertiary villi. By about 21st day, this is completed. So there is close proximity of maternal blood in the intervillar space, and in the terminal villi there are fetal vessels. So this is a close proximity, and here the lining membrane of this intervillous space everywhere, the lining membrane is the trophoblast. It is the syncytial trophoblast. This intervillous space is lined by on all sides. So, maternal blood and the trophoblastic tissue, they are in direct contact with each other. But maternal and fetal blood, they do not mix. Now the next part is this part is the chorionic plate, and here it is the basal plate of the placenta. Now how is the placenta at term? Placenta at term, it is around 15 to 20 centimeter in diameter. Diameter is 15 to 20 centimeter. It is disc like, it is thick in the middle and thin near the periphery. 15 to 20 centimeter. Now it has got two surfaces. One is the fetal surface, which is inside the uterine cavity and facing the fetus, and another is the maternal surface, which is attached on the uterine wall. So whenever you go to the clinic in your evenings in labor room, you please ask or request the resident there to show the placenta, its anatomy to you in detail. So when you visualize it, you will better come to know how exactly it looks like, how is the maternal surface, how is the fetal surface. So fetal surface, it is covered by amnion. It is covered by amnion, and it is shiny, it is smooth, glossy, shining, and it can be peeled off up to the insertion of umbilical cord. Suppose this is the placenta, it is a discoid. Around center, not exactly around center, there is the insertion of umbilical cord, and from there you can see vessels coming out underneath this membrane, which you can peel easily, and these vessels, they are then bluish in color and they are branching. So these are the uterine arteries, two uterine arteries, they give branches, and then these branches, then they form the villi arterial structure, villus arterial structure, arteries, then capillaries, and then veins, and these veins then drain into single umbilical vein. There are two umbilical arteries, always remember, two umbilical arteries and one umbilical vein. By around 4 months, vein are also two. By around 4 months, after 4 months, the right umbilical vein is obliterated, and only left umbilical vein is left. How to remember which umbilical vein is left? Left is left. Okay. So you can remember that umbilical vein left is left. So the membranes, they can be peeled off only up to the insertion of the umbilical cord and not beyond that. Now coming to the weight, it is around 500 gram at the time of birth, and if you compare the proportion of fetal weight to placental weight, then it is around 6:1. Fetal weight is to placental weight at term is 6:1. If they have asked placental is to fetal, then you will write 1:6, but I am telling you fetal, if the fetal weight is 3000 gram, then the placenta is around 500 gram. In early duration of gestation, the placental weight to fetal weight is approximately 1:1, but as the pregnancy advances, the fetal weight grows more as compared to the placental weight. By around 20 weeks of gestation, the growth of placenta, it is seen both in thickness and also in its circumference. but after 20 weeks of gestation the thickness remains the same and it grows only in its periphery. So during early gestation the proportion is less, and when as the pregnancy advances it is around 6:1. And now coming to the placenta, it has both component, it has both fetal component as well as maternal component. The maternal component includes the blood, maternal blood and the decidua only, and fetal rest is fetal component. So maternal component is around 1/5 of the placenta, and fetal component is 4/5 of the placenta. Always remember, fetal component is more as compared to the maternal component. Now coming to maternal surface, it is rough, it is reddish, dark reddish, rough, and there is no smooth membrane over it. It is not shiny, and moreover if you examine in detail you will find that it has got some lobules, convex shaped lobules. These kind of lobules you can see. So these are called placental cotyledons. These are called placental cotyledons present on the maternal side. Maternal side of the placenta, as I have told, because it is deciduate, so some amount of decidua is present over it, and the cleavage it takes place at the level of decidua spongiosum, as I have already explained in the chapter in the lecture covering the physiology. Now coming to the another again structure, how it is attached. Placenta is attached to there are some projections of the decidual tissue between these cotyledons. These are the projections of the decidual tissue between these projections. It helps in the formation, anchoring of placenta on the uterine wall. Most important, the intervillous space, I have told you, it is lined on all sides by the syncytial trophoblast. Now coming to the blood stem villi. These are the stem villi. These are the stem villi. They are formed by the division of the arteries, umbilical artery, and then it divides into capillaries, and then it forms the drainage system. It is a venous system. It drains into the umbilical vein. Later it drains into the umbilical vein. So now coming to the stem villi. Each stem villi, they are called as, it is this is the functional unit of placenta. Always remember, this is the functional unit of placenta, and if we calculate the distance of the capillaries, or if we sum all the distance of the capillaries, it's around 50 km in length. Now let's see about the structure of the terminal villus. Outside, structure of the terminal villus, outside is the syncytial trophoblast, then inside is the cytotrophoblastic layer. It is the syncytial trophoblast. Now the cytotrophoblastic layer, then is the basement membrane and central stroma, and this central stroma, it contains the vessels, blood vessels. This central stroma, it contains the blood vessels. Also there is present phagocytic cells in this central stroma. The phagocytic cells, they are called Hofbauer cells. And what is the importance of these phagocytic Hofbauer cells? They are the cells that are involved in the transportation of IgG antibodies from maternal side to the fetal circulation. They are called phagocytic cells. Phagocytic cells, and they have got IgG receptors. IgG receptors. When the IgG comes and binds with the IgG receptors, they are engulfed, phagocytosis takes place, and then it is transferred towards the fetal side. It is transferred toward the fetal side. So, these are the importance of Hofbauer cells, and they can express class 2, they can express these cells, they can express class 2 MHC cells. Only these Hofbauer cells, otherwise the trophoblast does not express class 2 MHC cells. Only these can express, these Hofbauer cells, they express class 2 MHC molecules. Now coming to the placental circulation. We can divide the circulation that is occurring in the placenta into two. These are the, number 1, materno-placental circulation and fetoplacental. Materno-placental and fetoplacental. There is, as we have already seen, there is no mixing of maternal and fetal blood in the placenta. So, two circulation they are taking place, materno-placental circulation and fetoplacental circulation. First we will examine study about the materno-placental or uteroplacental circulation. The blood coming from the uterine and ovarian arteries from by the spiral arteries, they divide to radial and then to spiral. So, spiral arteries, blood is coming through spiral arteries, and these spiral arteries they open into this intravillous space. These spiral arteries they open into the intravillous space. Blood goes like a splash. Now suppose here is the terminal villi, fetal. So it goes in the splash. Pressure here is around only 8 mmHg. In the intravillous space, it's only around 8 mmHg. It moves very slowly. Because of the increased, it goes like a jet. Then it moves slowly with the help of the movement of the capillaries, blood vessels in the villi system, and they are later drained in the veins. It goes back in the veins. So this is the uteroplacental circulation. The pressure in the intravillous system, in the intravillous space, is only 8 millimeters of mercury. On pressure in the when the pressure is so low, the blood is not moving at fast, it's sort of stagnation takes place for some time. The amount of blood present in intravillous space is 150 ml only, and as we have seen, the amount of blood flow in the uterine arteries is around 600 to 700 ml per minute. So this intravillous maternal blood is replaced around 3 to 4 times in a minute. This intravillous maternal blood is replaced around 3 to 4 times in a minute, and the placental, the intravillous blood capacity is around 400 ml, 350 to 400, and the umbilical arterial supply is also around 400 ml per minute. So the blood in the villi, they are replaced in one time in a minute, and blood in the intravillous space is replaced 3 to 4 times in a minute. There is more of fetal blood in the placenta. When the placenta is shed at the time of parturition, it has got the only decidua which is of maternal origin, and the blood in the intervillous space around 150 ml which is present, it is of maternal origin. Only these two things are of maternal origin. So it is low pressure system, and coagulation is to be inhibited at this place. So the trophoblastic, as it is lined by the trophoblastic tissue, there is a, it has got a anti coagulation properties. Now coming to placental thickness, as we have already discussed that the lining of stem villi, tertiary villi, outer is the syncytial trophoblast, then the cytotrophoblast, then the membrane, basement membrane, then the stroma and blood vessels. So as the pregnancy advances, the syncytial trophoblast, it at some places it's thickened, some places it disappears. Suppose there are two thick places and rest it disappears. It also becomes thinner, and the stroma also becomes thinner, and the vessels, they are become more prominent for better exchange. So these thicker part, they are the place of hormone synthesis mostly, and it is called the beta part, beta zone. And the thinner places, they are the places for placental exchange of gases and other things, and it becomes the alpha zone. So alpha zones are for nutrition and beta zones are for hormone synthesis. Near term, this becomes very thin, and at around from 0.025 millimeter, it is reduced to 0.002 millimeter only. So you can understand, so how much thin is the barrier which is present between the maternal and fetal blood, but there is no direct exchange of it. Now, as I have told that this is lined by the trophoblastic tissue, and maternal blood is in direct contact with the trophoblastic tissue. So some trophoblastic tissue cells, they along with this blood, they enter the maternal circulation, and sprouts, they enter the maternal circulation, and when they enter the maternal circulation, in the maternal circulation, in the lungs, the lysis of these trophoblastic cells occurs. Okay, the presence of these trophoblastic tissue in the maternal blood is also important. They are also source of some examination and part of research. Now placental aging, I have told you that as the pregnancy advances, the barrier is thinned out. Alpha zones and beta zones are present. Now coming to Nitterbuch's membrane. This is a very important thing, Nitterbuch's membrane. What is this? When there is trophoblastic invasion into the decidua, at around 16 weeks of gestation, if this invasion, this trophoblastic invasion into the decidua, if it is not stopped, it will continue the invasion throughout the pregnancy. So nature has developed this mechanism. There occurs fibrinoid degeneration, of the invading trophoblastic tissue at the end. So trophoblastic decidual junction, this fibrinoid degeneration takes place, trophoblastic decidual junction of the trophoblast. This fibrinoid degeneration occur at the trophoblastic decidual junction, and this stops the further invasion of trophoblastic tissue into the decidua. If this degeneration does not occur at this time, if it fails to occur, what happens? This trophoblastic tissue, it continues invasion and it may reach up to the uterine wall, muscle, and even up to the surface. So, this Nitterbuch's membrane is absent in placenta accreta. So, why some placentas? They just do not stop normally, and we see placenta accreta cases. This is because of absence of this Nitterbuch's membrane. It fails to develop, and the trophoblastic invasion into the decidua, it continues. First into the decidua, then later into the muscular tissue, and up to serosa level it continues sometimes. So, this is also one of the reason that in early pregnancy, when abortion takes place, the placental tissue whichever is growing, it does not come off en masse. But after around 16 weeks of gestation, when we induce abortion, after the fetus, the placental tissue, it comes en masse. You don't need much of curettage. So, this is also one of the reason, because this Nitterbuch's membrane has prevented this further invasion, and it has anchored the whole of the placenta to the decidual tissue. So, this is the Nitterbuch's membrane, its importance. And its clinical significance in two places. First is in early pregnancy abortions, placenta does not come en masse, and in cases of placenta accreta percreta. So, this is the important. Now, what is the intervillous space? In the aging that is occurring in intervillous space, what do you need to know is Rohor's triad. Rohor's triad, this is also a degeneration which is present in the intervillous space, but where lower side near the end of the terminal villi. Nothing, these are of no clinical significance, but it is of sort of aging. So, Rohor's triad is present in intervillous space in the placenta. This is important, this can come as MCQ to you. And also now, as we have discussed some part of trophoblastic tissue invasion, I will tell you around up to it starts at around 11th day, as I have told you in the earlier part of the class, and it continues up to 12 to 14 weeks of gestation. It is called the primary trophoblastic invasion into the decidua. It is important for the formation of placenta. Then is the secondary wave. Secondary wave occurs. Secondary wave of this trophoblastic invasion, it occurs at around 16 weeks, in which this trophoblastic tissue which is present in the secondary wave of trophoblastic invasion, which starts at around 16 weeks, what happens? The trophoblastic tissue, it invades now this is the intervillous space, these are the spiral, these are the arteries. Funneling is occurring. What happens? This trophoblastic invasion, it involves the spiral arteries, and some part is, the elasticity is reduced, it is widened, it becomes funnel shaped. These vessels, they become funnel shaped, so blood supply is increased, but as soon as the blood comes into the intervillous space, the pressure falls. It causes funneling of the spiral arteries. But what happens in cases of preeclampsia? This second wave of trophoblastic invasion into the spiral arteries that is occurring normally is hampered. It does not take place properly. So, their funneling does not occur. and it leads to reduced uteroplacental circulation. So, the second wave of trophoblastic invasion, if it does not take place normally, it leads to, you can say it leads to preeclampsia. So, and it starts at around 16 weeks of gestation. So, this is very important. Now, coming to placental function. If there is placenta which attaches the fetus to the maternal uterine wall, it has got some function, not only of anchoring but other functions as well. Now, these functions can be nutritive function. Everything that fetus is made up of is crossed from the placenta to the fetal side. So, nutritive function is very important. Nutrition can take place by diffusion, water, oxygen, carbon dioxide, sodium, potassium, chloride, all these things are by diffusion. Then is the facilitated diffusion, facilitated transfer. Glucose is by facilitated transfer. Now, lipids and cholesterol. Yes, cholesterol also crosses the placenta to the maternal side. Lipids and cholesterol, because they are water soluble, they are fat soluble, they are lipid, they go on easily. If the substance has a molecular weight of more than 1000 daltons, it is less diffusible. Smaller size are easily diffusible. If there is a polarized thing, ionic forms, they are diffused slowly. So, now nutritive function, excretory function, whatever waste material is produced, amino acids, one thing was left, amino acid, they are by active transport. Active transport of amino acids. Also, phagocytosis we have already discussed by Hofbauer cells of IgG, especially in later part of pregnancy. Maternal immunoglobulins, they are given to the fetus by this method. Active transport includes amino acid as well as iron, calcium, phosphorus. These are transported actively. Now, coming to the excretory function, whatever waste material is produced inside the fetus, it crosses the barrier and enters the maternal circulation. So, urea, creatinine, carbon dioxide, they all are transferred from fetal to maternal side by diffusion only. Okay. So, excretion of waste material. So, the functions are respiratory function, excretory function, nutritive function, oxygen. Oxygen, it goes by simple diffusion. In the first video, by simple diffusion I have explained. Now, amino acids, they are transported actively. Now, enzymatic function. There are some enzymes like which suppresses the hormones, suppresses the pressure substances, like diamine oxidase is present in the placenta. Also, oxytocinase is present, which neutralizes the oxytocin, and also it is placental endocrinology important. We will discuss in detail in another lecture. Now, barrier function, as we have already seen, the thickness is very less. Most of the things, they are easily crossing the placenta. So, if we say, even if there is no direct exchange of maternal and fetal blood, the barrier action of the placenta is not so very good. Okay. Only if molecular weight is very high, it will not cross the placenta. If it is the more water soluble things, they are not easily transferred, but if it is fat soluble, it can easily be transferred, and ionic things, they are not easily transferred. So, if we see the barrier action, it is not of much importance. Most of the medicines that we prescribe to the mother, more or less they transfer to the fetal side. Definitely also the pathogenic organism like protozoas and viruses and bacteria, they all cross to the maternal side of the fetal side of the placenta. So barrier action is not of much importance. Now as we have seen the placenta, it is made up of two components. One is the maternal component and another is the fetal component, and we know the genetics of fetus is different from the genetics of the mother, or we can say it is a sort of foreign body. Fetus and the placenta, some part of placenta is a sort of foreign body to the maternal system. Still there is no rejection of this graft. So what are the reason behind that, which prevents the graft rejection? Number one, placental hormones which are present, they suppresses the maternal immune system. During pregnancy the immunity is suppressed, so the also because of this the diseases, immunological diseases, they are relieved during pregnancy. Also villus trophoblast, they do not show class 1 HLA class 1 or 2 molecules. In villus trophoblast there are no HLA class 1 or class 2 molecules, and there is a shift of maternal immune system from T to H, from cell mediated to helper to humoral immunity. It is a shift. So these are the some things which prevent the graft rejection, and I have tried to cover almost all the things in placenta, like how it is formed, how the maternal blood and fetal blood circulation they are taking place, what are the functions, or how the aging is occurring, how it looks like, and the next part, that is fetal membrane, it will be covered in next lecture. If you have any queries regarding this topic, although this is not of much importance in your MBBS course, but still you can face some MCQs in your NEET PG or during in your university exams. So this is a theoretical topic, more of theoretical topic, please go through it, and if you have any queries, please do ask me, and I will be happy to reply in the comment box. And if you like the video, please subscribe and share the video as much as possible. Thank you.